right. Well, thanks for the intro and thanks for the privilege of being part of this, cool new thing of cooking together and doing it so with, the best food available, basically. Highest quality of eating, sure makes sense and can even taste very well. And we can have some fun on the way as well. So today we're going to make something beautifully fresh and colorful for spring. At least today in my area here, it's actually quite cool and rainy all day. So definitely on par there. We want to do 3 different things. We want to do a basil soup. We want to do a little salad, and we want to do a little dessert. Now, the interesting thing about all these 3 things is they are basically 3 ways of how to eat a mango. How to eat a mango in the form of a dish. And if you can see here, the ingredients that I have, they're just some of the ingredients I have. Sadly, my daisies are not looking so good because it's raining. So I will switch over to some elderberry flowers and some chive flowers. But for sure, there are many edible flowers you can have, and it's just an encouragement generally to have some more fun with your food. And find out what's maybe wild and raw growing near you. And on your next walk, maybe, learn something new. Okay, then I'll try to fix my camera here. That seems to still work, right?
Yes, works.
So perfect. So let's start with the first dish, the mango basil soup.
Hey, Raphael, where are you located?
Located?
Yeah.
I live in Bavaria. I live near Ingolstadt in Bavaria, which is south of Germany, basically.
Okay.
So let's have some mangoes here. Now my mangoes are Kent variety. They are from Peru, so definitely not the best in CO2, I guess, but the taste is worth it, and it's definitely the better version than to kill an animal for your good food. Now, of course, there are a million ways of how to skin a mango, but I prefer by now the method with the peeler because it really is just easy. You go right ahead and do it the way you're used to, but I can recommend that. Now, sadly, mine does have some transport issues, so some spots, but it doesn't deter anything from the taste, so we'll just make sure that we cut them away later. I would be interested in what kind of mango varieties you have, so if at any point you feel like it or you have the time, maybe you can write in the text what kind of mangoes you have. It would be kind of interesting.
I have champagne mango, Raphael.
Champagne?
Champagne mango from India, huh?
Whoa, I've never heard of those.
I think they go by a different name sometimes. They're the little yellow ones.
Ah, like a honey mango?
Yes.
Yeah, a lot like a honey mango.
Oh wow, I envy you.
Larissa, what store did you get them from?
Whole Foods. I buy all my produce in Whole Foods, and they have actually, since I discovered mangoes with Dr. Graham inspiration, I cannot imagine that I didn't see them before in that store.
And did you go to Mango Island?
Yes, I went to Mango Island with Dr. Graham.
I see.
So, I mean, it's a virtual island where I ate mangoes for couple of weeks, I think.
I love the concept.
Yeah, that's something I want to do. That's definitely on my list of things to do. Mango Island, I would love to do that.
Yeah, me too.
I envy my friends in Myanmar right now. They've got mangoes, so much that they don't know what to do with them. So you can currently in Myanmar buy mangoes for like half a dozen for 60 cents.
Wow.
Yeah, and they're super delicious. They're really good. Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely my favorite fruit. That's for sure. I'm just trying to get rid of some of the spots here.
Larissa, what was your experience on Mango Island?
Well, it was very interesting. I don't think I can describe it. I think you have to really try it for yourself, Brian.
Okay.
And but since then, mango's actually my favorite as well. And first thing I look for at the store at Whole Foods is mangoes.
Uh-huh. You should move to Florida. South Florida.
So
That's on my list.
one of the really nice combinations I've found is mango with basil. And so we're going to make a basil soup. This is freshly harvested this morning from my own basil here. I'm gonna keep some of the smaller, prettier leaves for decoration later. But otherwise, we're gonna throw in the whole bunch. Now with basil, don't be shy. Use a proper amount, and then you will also have the taste. So it's like a good handful. Yeah. So I've got in the blender, I've got now just basil and mango, nothing else. Okay, now let's turn that.
I need to get one of those silent blenders.
Oh yeah.
I know, that's nice, isn't it? I thought he was using the Dome of Silence.
Ah, maybe.
All right.
And for the people who don't know, if Raphael's movements look extremely refined, very streamlined, no wasted effort, we have to realize he was raised in a family where his dad was a chef, a vegan chef at that, and being a chef comes almost normal and natural for Raphael. We're really blessed to have you with us.
Oh, thank you for all the praise. I wish my father could hear that. He sadly is not alive anymore. Yeah. So now we're gonna take some of the blueberries. I mean, go ahead and taste them. It depends on how they, or when they have been harvested, if they're nice and sweet or if they're a little bit more sour. Either way, they will give us a nice flavor in our soup. The soup might go a little thick. Now I really like a thick soup. My granddad always made thick soups, but I guess if you wanted a little bit more liquidy, you can of course do some put some extra water, and it'll be fine like that. Now here we'll put some nice leaves there. Ah, they're almost turned upside down here. And we're going to do maybe another leaf. Or two. Yeah. So, and there we go. That'll be the first dish, all done.
Very nice.
So, for the second dish, let's start with the lamb's lettuce. I'm trying to manage my space here, but we'll manage. Now, lamb's lettuce has the big advantage, and I'm quite lazy, so I guess that's why I'm an engineer, trying to make things work faster. But lamb's lettuce has one of the big advantages that if it is fresh, you can actually use it quite quickly without having to make a big job of cleaning your salad. Sometimes you might still find a leaf or two, but in general, they are actually pretty easy to work with. Unless they're already old, then you're in trouble, because then you have to do every one of these small leaves and pick out the bad stuff. So make sure you get them fresh and don't leave them too long in the fridge. I really like lamb's lettuce. I don't know about you guys, but over the years I've come to appreciate more the different kinds of salad that there are. Especially the last 2 years that I've been doing this raw vegan thing, raw food thing. I'm concentrating much more on the different varieties that there are. Also of other salads. For example, for lunch today I had an endive salad, and I really enjoyed that because it was unusually mild. Usually endives are a little bit bitter, and that actually makes them taste quite nice. But yeah, this one was actually quite mild, so I really enjoyed that. Now, when you make a salad, you can sometimes actually quite almost already fill the bowl with it, because it's gonna munch down a little anyway. So, and greens usually you can't get too many of, so don't worry if it looks like a huge bowl of salad. Trust me, you will like it, or your body will thank you. Yeah. So we've got the lamb's lettuce, then we'll do the bell peppers. Okay. So those are my bell peppers. Maybe they're a little bit too big. We'll see. Park them in there. So, now with the peppers, there are a couple of ways you can do this. With the long ones, I've decided to just cut them up on one side and then just to split them open. And that way I can actually get inside quite easily and pull down from top to bottom, and that way I get all the seeds relatively quickly. Now, of course, there will always be some extras, but most of the time you get pretty much everything. And you know, if there is 1 or 2 seeds in your salad, don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. It usually is not so pleasant if you have all the seeds in there, although some people do. Some people eat everything, and apparently it doesn't matter. I don't know, but usually in the big kitchens, they always take out the seeds. Yeah.
I think it's kind of fun finding the seed in my salad from the bell peppers.
Okay. Well, I guess you could make a game out of it. So I'm trying to make them a little bit smaller already. And actually, yes, I think two big ones there are actually quite enough to start with. And what I'm gonna do is I'm going to make like small slices. Of course, you can cut them differently if you want to. You can make small cubes. You can make more like a noodle kind of form. It doesn't really matter. I'm gonna make nice and small. Nice and small pieces like that. Your bell peppers might be different ones. They might be more the round ones. I find that taste-wise, it doesn't make that much difference. But I do like the long ones because yeah, they're nice to process. They're easy to handle. So I hope some more of you guys had the chance to come into the meeting when we started. There weren't so many of you. How many are there now, Daniel?
Plenty more. Plenty more.
Nice, nice, nice. Well, hello everybody. To those who have checked in later. And we're doing a spring 3-course raw food meal. And since spring is all about flowers, we're actually also having some flowers, but also we're trying to be very colorful today. So we've got reds and greens and yellows, blues and violets. Yes. All right. Now that'll do. That can go for later. Now the next thing I put on the list is a cup of sweet corn. Now mine is not perfect. It could be a little bit more pretty, but basically sweet corn is, as far as I'm concerned, underrated because raw also this tastes actually quite nice. Most people, I guess, would only consider it as a cooked item. But or also, you know, on the barbecue or whatever. But I think raw, it's quite nice. And what we do to get off the kernels quite nicely is we start in the middle and scrape downwards, and then we flip it over and scrape the other side. That way they go off quite nicely. You can actually be quite courageous and cut quite deeply because the core is much harder. And so you will usually get all the kernels quite nicely if you try to cut a little bit deeper. Very cool. I like your quick feedback on that. That is reassuring.
Decided not to wait till the end.
Yes. So you can see a little bit how this works. Yeah. Okay.
It looks very colorful, Raphael.
Yes, already it looks like spring, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So usually they fly all over the place, so you kind of have to, yeah, watch out for them. Then we are already over to the dressing, actually. And for the dressing, we are going to use our celery stalks. Now, yours might look different. Yours might have less leaves or more leaves. I don't know. Yeah, more leaves. I want to see. This one actually is an organic variety. Usually in Germany, if you get organic varieties of celery, they are more of this darker color, dark green, and also much more tasty. They have much more aroma than the normal ones. I'm using now 3 stalks and all of the leaves. But if you have a celery that is not as dark as this, but is a little bit lighter, you might want to make sure that you have enough of the celery to make the dressing taste really salty. Now these are still dirty. I'm gonna wash them real quick. But generally the celery does vary. So make sure that you think about that when you make your recipes. Some are more salty than others. Now there are some not so nice parts. I'll cut them off here. Yeah. Have a look at the tops as well. Sometimes they have some ugly marks when they were cut in the top as well. But these look actually quite nice. Maybe that one will rip off.
Raphael, is it difficult to find organic corn where you live?
Organic, excuse me, what? Organic what?
Organic corn.
Corn. It's not so easy, I guess. Yes. So this corn is also not organic one. Yeah, actually, probably it would not be such a big problem. It should be available. Usually, when the corn comes from Germany, I don't worry so much about it, because we do have still a couple of laws protecting against some of the chemicals. When the corn comes from, let's say, I don't know, outside of Europe, I'd be much more wary. But I don't know about your situation over there.
It's difficult to find organic corn here as well.
Okay.
Most of the year.
Okay. So
Can you use organic? Can you use frozen corn?
yeah, sure. Frozen works just as well.
Under puppy.
I don't see much organic in Florida, so it's frozen or it's in a can that's organic, and I'm nervous about it, so I just opted out on that one.
Okay. So I cut the celery in maybe like 10 centimeter chunks, so the blender will have a little bit more easier time blending them. And we're off to the second mango to make that one go ahead in the blender first, because it's softer and you'll usually want the softest first in the blender. Excuse me? Oh, okay. It's just a no extra question. What kind of mangoes do you have in Costa Rica right now, Doug?
We're, it's early. Well, I say that we're actually getting to what we would see in the middle of the season in the States. So mango season started here. You could get mangoes for a long season here because they play a little bit of hormone
9 weeks
tricks.
old, Mom. Oh, wait.
And they drop the first crop as baby mangoes, and then the second crop is what stays on the tree. But here
Oh, wow.
they've found a way with mangoes to give them a little bit more of their own hormones. It's basically mango estrogen, and that allows them to hold on to the first crop as well. So we get an extended mango season, but we're seeing mostly Kents at this point.
Okay.
They don't tend to go for huge amounts of variety. Not like in the States, for instance, where people think the coolest thing is to have a variety that nobody's ever seen. Here they just they kind of think of two kinds of mangoes. There's a very small one that's very sweet, and then the bigger Kents.
Okay.
You don't see tremendous variety.
Yeah, around here you get Kents most of the time for sure. I guess they are the easiest to transport. But other than that, sometimes you would get Keiths and Palmer, and sometimes you would get.
The Keats will come in after. The Keats will come in after the Kents.
Ah, okay. Yeah,
Keats because they're so large, they're just about the end of the season.
Ah, okay. Well, the Amellies that I got once were African ones, and they were actually quite small, and they were at the beginning of the season, which was interesting.
Right, and again, depends on where because you're getting them in Bavaria, it depends where they came from. So you're getting,
Africa.
Right, so you're getting the other end of the season, right? You're getting the reverse side of the equator.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true, didn't think of that. Okay, so mangoes in the blender, and we're chucking all that celery in there. Now, time. Yeah, apropos time. Daniel, what's the time say right now?
It is 12:30.
Oh, okay. Well, we're pretty much halfway through. Now, this is thyme, right? And it's a little herb I find in my garden. If you grow them yourself, they're even more aromatic. Because we're using a proper blender, we're gonna just chuck them in right as they are. And I'm using about this quantity of thyme. I wish it was so easy to grow thyme in other respects in my life. Yeah. Okay, now all that is left for the dressing is a lemon. Since I don't have a lemon, but only a lime, I'm gonna use that one anyway. But it doesn't really matter. Both will work just fine, will actually work excellently. But if you plan on making this recipe a couple of times, why don't you switch around a little bit and have some fun? Citrus usually can be interchangeable quite easily for dressings. Basically, you want something sour. If you are lucky enough to be somewhere tropic, you can also try starfruit for a dressing, or any type of sour berry will work a treat to make a dressing. And you combine it with something fatty or something like a mango, because a mango is always good. And there we go. We're gonna cut. We skinned it, and we're throwing it right in. I'm just hoping. Basically, we can also cut in the middle, and see if it's got a lot of seeds. Usually, I don't bother. Oh yeah, this one is good. I don't want to get too many seeds in there because it can turn bitter. But generally, I chuck them in as a whole by now. Okay, we've got in the blender a mango, 3 stalks of celery, a good handful of thyme, and a lime, or lemon in your case.
Yeah, for anybody who tried that same trick with the lemon that we saw it done with lime, you probably find lemon has a lot more seeds. So if you were gonna
Yeah.
just throw in the whole thing, I'd do the cut it in half trick and pop out the seeds.
When you're finished, do take a taste. If you don't like it yet, or if you think it's too sweet or whatever, maybe you want to try to make it a little bit more sour, or you want to put a little bit more celery if it's not salty enough. And otherwise, you just chuck it on the salad. Now, I like my salads nice and juicy and a lot of sauce. If you don't want that, just take the half or a third. I'm going to use it all. Oh boy, this is going to be fun mixing it all. Anyway, maybe I'll chuck it into a bigger bowl for that. Oh yeah, there we go. Now, when you're gonna do a more course meal, it also pays to have not that many different ingredients actually, because remember, your stomach is just a bag and everything goes in there, so you'll make it much easier for your stomach if you're not eating 150 ingredients for one meal. So we're gonna blend that later, or mix the salad later. Oh yeah, and the flowers, we're gonna do that right at the end. I took some flowers from chives because I couldn't get enough daisies in this rainy weather that were open. So I'm just gonna use the chive flowers, and they are gonna make the salad a little bit more oniony or chivey, yeah. But we're gonna do that later. Now we're going to do the dessert. And I wrote in the description that you should take a pretty glass. Now this is my pretty glass. And I'm gonna go ahead and take off the lid to work with it easier. We don't need that. Now, because I've got so many really nice blueberries, I'm gonna start with some more blueberries and chuck them in the bottom. Enough to make a good layer. Sometimes with those blueberries, you have to be a little bit wary when they start putting on some mold. You don't want to necessarily eat those. But these look actually quite nice. And you just take enough to make a nice layer, so that on the side it looks, anyway, I'm gonna chuck them in. Then I'm gonna wash my blender. going to attack the last mango. Do tell me what kind of edible flowers you've found. I'd be interested.
Hibiscus.
Hibiscus.
Yes,
Nice.
it's right here. I'll walk you over to my hibiscus. It's all of about 4 steps away. Not only are the flowers edible, but so are the leaves. So when I make my salad at night, I just walk out to the hibiscus plant and pick hibiscus leaves, and it's free lettuce.
Lovely.
I've heard it said that hibiscus can actually give you vivid dreams. Is that true?
I haven't found anything gives me vivid dreams. I can't say. Actually, that's not true. Every once in a while, my parents come to me, and the dog that I had as a child, the three of those three come to me in my dreams every now and again, and they are vivid, and I don't know if that's my mind. You know, this is one of those unknown things, right? Is it my mind creating that? Is it them creating that? Is it? I don't know, but they're no longer walking Earth, but sometimes they come to me in my dreams.
You didn't have hibiscus right before that night, did you?
No, not that I'm aware. Vivid dreams, huh? I'll try the experiment. Is that the flowers or the leaves?
The flowers.
Oh,
that's interesting.
Definitely not the flowers, because I rarely eat the flowers. They're edible, but there's not much to recommend them other than the color. But I do like the leaves.
Dr. Graham, Raphael mentioned star fruit. Are you familiar with Dr. Greger's opinion about star fruit maybe being a problem? Have you heard that?
No, I don't know what Michael had to say. There are many varieties of star fruit, as there are, there's thousands of varieties for most types of fruit. And what we see in the grocery store, as Raphael mentioned earlier, about the mangoes, there are varieties that ship well, and so we tend to see those in the store. This is certainly true for star fruit, because especially when star fruit is ripe, it does not handle well, as you know. The variety that I would recommend for people is called Fuang Tong, and I think it's one of the best fruits on the planet. I know of nothing to say against it, but what did Dr. Greger have to say that was negative?
He came out with some studies that showed that it was some sort of a neurotoxin, and it could lead to neurological disorders. But I have to say, I've eaten an awful lot of star fruit in my time, and as far as I know, I'm unaffected. And they still sell it in the store. So I was just trying to reconcile this study that he found and, this inconsistency.
I think, if anything, that would be in some of the really, really far less sweet and far more acidic varieties. What you see in the store, I would think most often you tend to ignore, and then what people bring you from their gardens, oh, that was really good star fruit. The really good varieties taste sort of like grape and orange mixed together, maybe a little sweeter than grape and orange mixed together, rather than lemon, lime, and orange mixed together, mostly lemon. And so maybe in that really strong acid flavor.
Yeah, it makes sense. I've never eaten a store-bought star fruit. It's all been
You'd be very disappointed.
I'm sure.
Raphael, what's in your blender?
Okay, well, in the blender, I've got the mango and I've got the mint leaves. Now with the mint, I also harvested that from my garden. But here I took off the stalk because it's much harder. It's much more woody. And so I took that off. And I used the time to shake off some of the elderberry leaves. Sorry, flowers. Elderberry flowers. Don't they look pretty?
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to use them on the top. Yeah, so once you've got your mango and some mint, nothing more, just mango and mint in your blender, you can go ahead and blend that. I just love mango color. It's just awesome. It's like gold. So now we're gonna pour that in. Pour it in and it will offset nicely to the blueberries. Now let's not fill it up too much because we want a third layer. And you will want to bump it a little bit. So it'll flow down a little bit.
So those are whole blueberries in the bottom there, Raphael?
Yes, you probably can't see properly. There's just blueberries at the bottom and then there's nothing else, just blueberries. And then a mango with mint. And then, actually I produced a little bit too much of that, which is good. Better than not enough. And then we're gonna take the raspberries. Do look at them because they do tend to go moldy easily. And we're just gonna make a raspberry layer on top before we add then some elderberry flowers. I'm gonna taste one. Oh yeah. When I was in Myanmar, they also told me that up in the mountains, in this one region, they would have some yellow raspberries, or yeah, like light orange raspberries. And yeah, I was intrigued about that. But apparently there too, we just think of raspberries, but there is, yeah, many different kinds of every kind of fruit, which is really fun to find out. So, some more. If you're in doubt, the cool thing about tasting something like this, if it's not good, you can always spit it out. But of course, when you've got a finished food, a finished dish, it's much more painful to throw it away. So do take your taste buds into the kitchen. Make sure that you take good care of your taste. Chances are you're not preparing this just for yourself. So maybe you want to take responsibility for a good taste. Now we can go ahead and put the flowers on top. Oh, that turns out quite nicely, actually. Yeah.
What is that on top?
Elderberry flowers.
Got it. Got it. Thank you.
Elderberry flowers. Yeah, you don't get them in every parts of the world. I don't know about your places. I'm sure in Costa Rica you won't have that, I guess.
No.
But
We do get some berries here, though.
yeah, we do have them. So that's what they look like. So basically, we're done. Cleanup is for later. But I'm going to finish the salad now. I'm gonna do some mixing of the salad bowl. So back comes the salad bowl. I'm gonna take some tools for that. Now, there's a bit of a technique of trying not to spill everything. Of course, you can also just wash your hands and go ahead with your hands. That's very big industrial kitchen-like. People there do that all the time. I kind of find it a bit of a waste then to wash the hands afterwards because they're full of mango. And I want mango. So I'm willing to mess around a little bit and yeah, do this a little bit more slowly. Now, of course, there are a million ways of doing a salad. This just happens to be one of them. And I know that some of you guys, you really dislike the idea of a salad that has even a taint of sweetness in it. So maybe you would have to replace the mango in this case with something like half an avocado or a handful of seeds or whatever. But
just grapefruit.
Sorry?
Or just use a grapefruit or something like that. Grapefruit pieces instead of mango won't be so sweet.
Quite, or an apple, you know?
Exactly.
If you want to be full with a meal like this, you have to make sure you put some calories into the salad. And while you're at it, make sure that you put calories in there that are healthy and not too much fat, actually, because the fat does cause some problems. So there we go. Salad is done. It's not the most pretty. Maybe we put it into a different dish. Daniel, what does the time say?
You're doing good. You got it's
12:48.
10 minutes of the hour.
Hey, excellent. We'll actually get time to sit down.
Time, yeah. By the time you show us everything that you've made all in one video, one shot, and it's going to look absolutely gorgeous. So there's mango in all three dishes. It's what we call it's what we call fusion, when you carry one ingredient all the way through the meal or through the various. Yeah, and that's called the fusion style.
Oh, look at that. It even works quite well.
I think that was the name of Shari's third boy.
Fusion?
Fusion.
Oh, wow.
A Jazz and Jax and Fusion.
Are those daisies, Raphael?
They were supposed to be daisies, but these are actually the flowers of chives.
Oh,
so
okay.
Many people have a feeling that, yeah, once the chive flowers, you can't eat it anymore, but not so. This is
and
actually...
of course, many people find the chive flower to be far stronger in flavor than the chive itself. So,
True.
so one or two florets from one flower is usually enough for many people. But if you like the flavor, then you just keep going after it, and nothing wrong with it, because you end up with a lot of flowers on top of your chives.
All right. Now I'm going to head over to the table. I'm going to get the iPad in just a sec. All right. Even time for eating together. What a privilege. Here we go.
Let's see what all three dishes look like.
Oh, nice.
Oh, which comes first? Whew.
Can you take a picture, Raphael, before you dive in?
Yeah, I will take a picture with my mobile and you will get that later.
Okay.
That's unbelievable looking.
My mobile is here. Yeah.
Here's mine.
And everybody else who prepared food with Raphael, can you please take a picture and email it to letscookraw@gmail.com before you dive in?
Yeah, taking a picture here, look.
Looking delicious. Tastes delicious. I like the mango throughout, Raphael.
Well, anybody who likes mangoes likes this kind of dish combination, of course. There are actually people who don't like mangoes. I don't know why, but apparently they are.
I don't think I've ever met anybody who doesn't like mangoes.
Well, I have, and my friends in Myanmar right now, they have so many mangoes that they're sick of it already, which
Really?
is kind of crazy. Yeah.
A lot of people, from north of the Mason-Dixon line would actually prefer a peach to a mango because that's what they grew up on.
Uh-huh.
And I've met quite a few people who prefer papaya to mango if given a choice.
Okay.
I'll go for mango every time, but I certainly have met those people who do have preferences, and that's great because it means there's more mango for us.
Right. Yes, apparently a lot of mangoes and a lot of papayas are actually harvested green in Asia because, people just prefer the chili kind of salad with them, which is a shame. But,
Well, there's also a lot of competition for those mangoes, and so there's certainly here in Costa Rica, a lot of people will eat fruit very early, including mango, banana, guava. They'll eat a lot of fruit early because if they don't, then the monkeys will get it, the pesote will get it, the wasps will get it. A large number. It's a lot of competition for that fruit, so you can't just leave it on the tree. This is stunning looking. You made a lot of food in a very short order. Convert that into 3 dishes. It's really quite spectacular. And to do that in a way that everybody else could follow you, I'm really impressed, Raphael.
thank you. Thank
Yes,
you.
good job, Raphael. So
That was
now,
awesome. I took the cutest picture of you on that bite. It's going to be a good photo.
It's so good.
I ate mine already. It was so good.
Yeah, it's interesting.
It stands and falls with the mango, right? If you've got a good mango, lucky you. If you don't have a good mango, try to work it out. But I really
It's
like
interesting how flavor changes with just a little bit of, I guess, herbs. Amazing.
Mhm.
Completely different.
And once you've got real taste, like herbs and other things, you don't need all the other things like salt or oil.
Nope.
Oh, now I can go back to gallery and see you all.
Well,
All right.
it's sort of interesting, because many of the foods that taste of salt are the foods that people add salt to. And the same thing here with oils. Many of the things that taste of oil are the things that people traditionally put oils on. So when we're saying these herbs all have flavor, what we're tasting are what are called aromatic benzene rings. They're actually oils. The oils of the mint and the oils of the basil and the oil of the chive is the flavorful, and it's not only the part that has flavor, but it's also the part that has aroma. And so we smell the oil and we taste the oil. But it's enough oil. You don't need to add, a directly refined oil on top of all that. So this is just a beautiful dish. I've always loved mango with various herbs, and you did a great job with that.
Thanks.
Dr. Graham, while we have a minute, you mentioned in chat that when you are eating raw plants, we don't need to worry about specific nutrients. Can you expound on that a little bit, please?
Yeah, sure. Well, I was just having this conversation yesterday, in fact, with a client that when I went to school, one of my teachers was a retired doctor, and so he'd gone to school, many years before me, and he said that when he was studying nutrition, that they only knew about 30 nutrients, but the people who studied nutrition guessed that there were 300. Well, when I went to school, they knew that there was 3,000 nutrients, but they guessed that there was 30,000. Shortly after I finished school, phytonutrient classes were discovered, which opened the world to another 300,000, opened the world's awareness to another 300,000 nutrients. So we now know that of these 300,000 nutrients, with the guess that there's more likely 3 million nutrients. We don't even know. So there becomes a mathematical point where no nutritionist, no matter how talented they are, no matter how good they are with all the details, could possibly manage nutrition from the nutrient standpoint. If we worry about nutrition, nutrient by nutrient, we could never cover 300,000 nutrients. It would be too much to juggle, take too much time. It's simply an impossibility to do nutrition by the nutrients. If instead we start with the basic belief or assumption or reality, fact, that nature already put our food together perfectly for us, not only with all the nutrients we need, but in the appropriate ratios, then we can actually manage our nutrition by the foods we eat rather than manage nutrition by the nutrient. And an example of this would be mannose. Almost everybody, certainly almost every female at some point or another has heard that if you have a UTI, that the way to deal with that urinary tract infection is
D-mannose.
to consume something that has cranberries in it. We always use cranberry juice. And that's been known for, I don't know, 80 or 90 years, probably, maybe more. And eventually, though, the scientists and the chemists figured out that the active ingredient in cranberry that seems to be responsible for this impact on our urinary tract is mannose, which is a type of sugar. Well, okay, now we've refined mannose. Well, in the 40 years I've been in practice, I've worked with hundreds of cases of UTI, and in the instance where we used cranberry, we always had a positive resolution. It always worked. But in the last decade or so, since mannose has become popular and isolated and for sale, I've worked with quite a few people who have tried mannose for the urinary tract infections, and about half of them got the desired results, but the other half did not. They simply did not. In its isolated form, mannose doesn't do what mannose does when it's still in the cranberry. And so that's my expanding on your question, Brian.
Thank you, Dr. Graham. I appreciate it. And thank you all for attending and spending this hour with us, making healthy, raw vegan food together. Don't forget to send us your pictures of your food creation to letscookraw@gmail.com. This is an event that we hold every week on Sunday from 12 noon to 1 o'clock. So please invite your friends next time.
Thank you.